The political landscape in Washington was shaken to its core when news broke that Senator Lindsey Graham was embroiled in a scandal. It all began when Attorney General Ashley Bondi launched a fierce investigation into allegations of corruption involving the senator. Rumors had been swirling for weeks, but Bondi's team was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Despite Graham's attempts to dismiss the allegations as politically motivated attacks, evidence began to mount against him. Bondi's investigation revealed a complex web of shady deals, including questionable campaign contributions and favors granted to influential lobbyists. The tension between Graham and Bondi escalated as the senator publicly challenged her credibility, but Bondi remained steadfast. As the investigation deepened, more explosive details came to light. Bondi's team uncovered financial records indicating that Graham had accepted large sums of money from a network of special interest groups in exchange for pushing legislation that favored their agendas. Whistleblowers within Graham's inner circle began to step forward, providing insider testimony that painted a damning picture of unethical behavior. Public opinion started to shift rapidly. Supporters who once stood firmly behind the senator grew uneasy, and calls for accountability echoed from both sides of the aisle. Despite intense pressure, Bondi refused to back down, emphasizing the importance of transparency and justice regardless of political rank. The confrontation between Bondi and Graham culminated in a dramatic hearing, broadcast live to millions. As Bondi presented the evidence, Graham's defenses crumbled, and the weight of the allegations became undeniable. In a stunning turn of events, law enforcement officers moved to take Lindsey Graham into custody on charges related to corruption and abuse of power, sending shockwaves through the nation's capital. The news of Lindsey Graham's arrest sent ripples throughout the political world. Journalists scrambled to cover every angle, while politicians scrambled to distance themselves from the disgraced senator. Social media exploded with debates, accusations, and speculation about what this meant for the future of political accountability in Washington. Inside the courthouse, the atmosphere was tense and charged with anticipation. Bondi, having gained newfound respect for her relentless pursuit of justice, prepared to lead the prosecution. Her team meticulously laid out the case, highlighting the intricate network of deceit that Graham had woven over the years. Witnesses testified about secret meetings, hidden accounts, and the blatant disregard for ethical standards. Meanwhile, Graham's legal team fought to undermine the evidence, claiming it was politically motivated and part of a larger scheme to tarnish his reputation. However, the mounting proof made it increasingly difficult to argue innocence. The trial exposed not only Graham's alleged misdeeds but also raised broader questions about corruption and influence in American politics. As the case unfolded, public trust in government institutions wavered, but many saw Bondi's efforts as a hopeful sign of change. The senator's fall from grace became a cautionary tale about power, accountability, and the cost of betrayal. The nation watched closely, waiting to see whether justice would ultimately prevail or if political influence could still shield those at the top. The trial dragged on for months, becoming one of the most closely watched political scandals in recent history. Every day brought new revelations, confidential emails, phone recordings, and financial transactions that painted an ever-clearer picture of systemic corruption. Bondi's prosecution team worked tirelessly, piecing together the puzzle with precision and determination. Meanwhile, Lindsey Graham's defense sought to exploit every possible loophole. They called character witnesses to attest to his public service and dedication, attempting to cast doubt on the motives of prosecutors and witnesses alike. The courtroom became a battleground of competing narratives: justice versus political vendetta, truth versus manipulation. Public opinion remained deeply divided. Some saw Graham as a victim of a witch hunt, while others viewed his arrest as a necessary reckoning for long overdue reform. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse, demanding both his conviction and his release. News outlets debated endlessly, reflecting the polarized climate engulfing the nation. Behind the scenes, political leaders grappled with the fallout. Allies distanced themselves, fearing damage to their own careers, while opponents seized the opportunity to push for stricter ethics laws. Bondi, now a symbol of accountability, faced immense pressure to see the case through to its conclusion, knowing the outcome would shape the future of American politics. In a final dramatic courtroom session, the evidence proved overwhelming. The jury deliberated for hours before returning a verdict that would resonate far beyond the walls of the courthouse. Lindsey Graham was found guilty on multiple counts of corruption and abuse of power. The sentence sent a powerful message: no one, not even the most influential politicians, was above the law. The conviction of Lindsey Graham marked a watershed moment in American politics. The courtroom erupted in a mix of shock, relief, and vindication. Bondi's unwavering dedication to justice had paid off, but the road ahead remained challenging. As Graham was led away in handcuffs, the nation grappled with the implications of his downfall. In the weeks following the verdict, congressional hearings were launched to address the systemic issues highlighted by the scandal. Lawmakers across the political spectrum debated new reforms aimed at increasing transparency, tightening campaign finance regulations, and strengthening ethical oversight. The hope was that Graham's case would serve as a catalyst for lasting change. However, the process was far from smooth. Some politicians resisted, wary of losing influence or exposing themselves to similar scrutiny. The divisions in Washington deepened, reflecting the broader polarization in society. Meanwhile, public trust in government remained fragile, underscoring the urgent need for accountability. Bondi's reputation soared as she became a symbol of integrity and courage. Yet, she faced intense scrutiny and pressure from powerful interests seeking to undermine her work. Despite this, she remained steadfast, committed to rooting out corruption wherever it existed. For Lindsey Graham, the fall was personal and devastating. Once a prominent figure in the Senate, his legacy was irreparably tarnished. In interviews from prison, he expressed regret but maintained his innocence, insisting that the political battle had been unfairly waged against him. His supporters vowed to continue fighting for him, keeping the controversy alive. As the dust settled, the country was left to reckon with hard questions about power, privilege, and justice. The case sparked a national conversation about how to rebuild trust and ensure that those who hold public office are held accountable to the people they serve. In the end, the story of Graham and Bondi became more than just a scandal, it was a defining moment for democracy itself. The aftermath of Lindsey Graham's conviction continued to reverberate throughout the nation's political institutions and beyond. Bondi's office faced an unprecedented surge in public support and expectations, with citizens demanding similar investigations into other suspected cases of corruption. Her resolve to pursue justice intensified, leading to a series of new inquiries targeting entrenched political networks and financial improprieties. Yet, with greater power came greater resistance. Powerful political figures, lobbyists, and interest groups quietly rallied to protect their own, creating a complex web of influence that tested Bondi's resolve like never before. She found herself navigating a minefield of political pushback, legal obstacles, and media attacks, all aimed at discrediting her efforts and slowing the momentum for reform. Within the Senate, Graham's absence created a vacuum that sparked fierce competition among his colleagues. Some attempted to distance themselves from his tarnished legacy, while others sought to capitalize on the moment to push bold legislative changes. The scandal exposed deep fractures within the party, leading to heated debates about ethics and the future direction of governance. Meanwhile, grassroots movements emerged across the country, inspired by the case and demanding greater transparency and accountability from elected officials. Town halls, protests, and social media campaigns galvanized a new generation of voters eager to challenge the status quo and promote political integrity. Amid this upheaval, Bondi remained a polarizing figure. To her supporters, she was a beacon of hope and justice. To her detractors, she was a threat to the established order, accused of wielding the law as a political weapon. The tension underscored the fragile balance between power and accountability in American democracy. As for Graham, his prison years became a period of reflection and occasional public statements, where he attempted to reshape his narrative. While his political career was effectively over, the ongoing debates about his guilt and the fairness of his trial continued to divide opinion, illustrating the complex and often contentious nature of justice in the political arena. Ultimately, the saga of Lindsey Graham and Ashley Bondi served as a powerful reminder that the fight against corruption is ongoing and that vigilance, courage, and the rule of law are essential to preserving democratic values. The story inspired reforms, sparked activism, and reshaped political discourse, leaving a lasting impact that would influence American politics for years to come. As the dust of the trial settled, the ripples of the Graham scandal continued to influence American society far beyond Capitol Hill. For many citizens, the saga was not just a political drama but a profound lesson in the complexities of power, accountability, and the fragility of trust in democratic institutions. Ashley Bondi found herself at the center of this shifting landscape. Her role as the relentless prosecutor had turned her into a household name, a figure both admired and vilified. Despite the personal toll, the long hours, threats, and relentless scrutiny, she remained committed to her mission. Bondi began to advocate publicly for comprehensive ethics reforms, speaking at universities, civic organizations, and international forums about the necessity of transparency and the rule of law. On a more personal level, Bondi struggled with the weight of her newfound prominence. The intense spotlight exposed her family and private life to public view, forcing her to balance the demands of justice with the need to protect her loved ones. Yet, she found strength in knowing that her work inspired countless individuals to believe in the possibility of change. Meanwhile, communities across the nation were grappling with the aftermath of the scandal in their own ways. Many felt disillusioned by the betrayal of a trusted public figure, while others saw hope in the fact that even powerful politicians could be held accountable. Civic engagement surged as people became more involved in local government, demanding transparency and ethical leadership from their representatives. Grassroots organizations that had supported Bondi's efforts expanded, channeling the energy of the moment into long-term activism. They pushed for reforms such as stricter campaign finance laws, independent oversight commissions, and greater protections for whistleblowers. Schools incorporated lessons about civic responsibility and ethics, hoping to educate a new generation about the importance of integrity in public service. At the same time, political commentators and historians began to examine the Graham case as a turning point, a moment when American democracy faced a critical test. Debates flourished about the balance between justice and political strategy, the risks of partisanship, and the ongoing challenge of combating corruption in a complex system. For Lindsey Graham, life after conviction was a stark contrast to his years in the Senate. Prison was isolating, but it also offered time for reflection. In rare interviews, he expressed a mixture of remorse, defiance, and a lingering hope that history might judge him more kindly. His story became a cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked ambition and the costs of ethical compromise. Ultimately, the saga underscored a fundamental truth: democracy is a living, breathing process that requires constant vigilance. It depends not only on laws and institutions but on the courage of individuals willing to stand up for what is right. The legacy of Bondi's pursuit and Graham's downfall continued to resonate, reminding the nation that accountability is the cornerstone of a healthy republic, and that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law. As the political dust continued to settle, the Graham scandal became a defining chapter in modern American politics, sparking widespread debate among politicians, media outlets, and the public alike. The case had exposed deep vulnerabilities within the political system, prompting many to question how such corruption could flourish unchecked for so long. Within Congress, reactions were mixed but unmistakably intense. Some lawmakers used the scandal as a springboard to advocate for sweeping reforms, arguing that the era of political immunity must end. Bipartisan coalitions emerged to push for stricter ethics rules, increased transparency in lobbying, and enhanced oversight of campaign financing. Yet, entrenched interests fought back, lobbying quietly to preserve the status quo and protect their own influence. Key political figures delivered speeches framing the case in different lights. Some painted Lindsey Graham as a cautionary example of hubris and moral failure, warning others about the dangers of placing personal gain above public service. Others defended him as a victim of political warfare, a pawn in a broader battle over power and ideology. This division further polarized the political environment, with debates often spilling over into social media and public forums. The media landscape, meanwhile, played a critical role in shaping public perception. Major news outlets dedicated extensive coverage to the trial and its fallout, producing investigative reports, opinion pieces, and special documentaries that dissected every aspect of the case. Some commentators praised Ashley Bondi for her tenacity and commitment to justice, while others criticized what they saw as an overly aggressive prosecution influenced by political bias. Social media amplified these voices, creating echo chambers where supporters and detractors clashed passionately. Hashtags supporting Bondi's fight for accountability trended alongside those decrying the trial as a politically motivated witch hunt. This digital battleground underscored the deep divisions within American society and highlighted the challenges of maintaining objective discourse in a hyperpartisan era. The long-term implications of the scandal were profound. It led to a renewed public focus on ethics reform, inspiring new legislation in several states and at the federal level. Several politicians who had previously ignored calls for transparency found themselves under increased scrutiny, with watchdog organizations empowered by the Graham case to investigate misconduct more aggressively. Educational institutions also responded by integrating lessons on political ethics, civic responsibility, and the importance of accountability into their curricula. Civic groups saw a surge in membership as citizens became more engaged in local politics and advocacy, determined to prevent similar abuses of power. International observers took note as well, viewing the case as a test of American democracy's resilience. It served as a reminder that even the most established political systems require constant vigilance to uphold the principles of justice and fairness. For Ashley Bondi, the aftermath was both a personal and professional milestone. She was invited to participate in global forums on anti-corruption measures and became a mentor for young legal professionals committed to public service. Yet, she remained grounded, aware that the fight against corruption was far from over. Lindsey Graham's name lingered in political discourse, often invoked as a symbol of the consequences of ethical lapses. Though his career was effectively over, the debates surrounding his case continued to influence political strategy and public expectations for years to come. In the end, the saga underscored a vital truth. The health of a democracy depends not just on laws and institutions but on the vigilance and integrity of those who serve within it, and the courage of those willing to hold them accountable. In the years following Lindsey Graham's conviction, the political landscape began to evolve in ways that few could have predicted. The scandal had left a deep scar, but it also ignited a spark for meaningful change. Across the nation, reforms were enacted to increase transparency, tighten ethical standards, and empower watchdog agencies to act decisively against corruption. Ashley Bondi, now regarded as a trailblazer, continued her career with unwavering dedication. Her work inspired a generation of prosecutors, activists, and public servants to prioritize integrity over ambition. Though the battles were far from over, Bondi's legacy became a symbol of hope, a reminder that justice could prevail even against the most entrenched powers. Meanwhile, the American people grew more engaged than ever before. Voter turnout increased, grassroots movements flourished, and civic education became a priority in schools. Citizens demanded accountability not just from individuals, but from the entire system that had allowed corruption to take root. Lindsey Graham's downfall became a cautionary tale taught in political science classes, a reminder of how power without accountability can lead to ruin. His story served as a lesson in humility and the importance of ethical leadership, shaping the conversations of lawmakers, journalists, and voters alike. The case also fostered a broader cultural shift. Conversations about ethics, transparency, and justice moved from the margins to the center of public discourse. The media, once criticized for sensationalism, found new purpose in investigative journalism, holding public officials to higher standards. In the end, the saga of Graham and Bondi was more than a scandal, it was a turning point. It reminded the nation that democracy is a constant work in progress, fragile but resilient, flawed yet capable of renewal. It showed that when individuals have the courage to stand up against wrongdoing, the course of history can change. As the country looked to the future, the lessons of that turbulent chapter remained clear. Power must be checked, justice must be pursued without fear or favor, and the people must always remain vigilant. Only then could the promise of democracy truly be fulfilled.